Hey there, I am MisterBo, and welcome to episode 6 of the Lowdown. Yep, that's right, the Lowdown Podcast is back after a very, very long hiatus, almost a year, but I thought what better time to bring it back than now, the week after E3, where we have a ton of stuff to talk about. So this week we are going to be going over the biggest announcements of E3. We're going to be going over some of the different showcases. I'll be giving you my sort of honest opinions and ratings of some of these showcases, and then we'll talk a little bit about maybe what E3 looks like next year based on its reception this year. Before we get into that though, there are a few things to go over. Obviously there is a new format to the show, me speaking to you guys, which before it was just completely audio. I'm going to do the same as before, where there's probably going to be mostly unedited, so I'm probably going to fumble my words and stuff like that as we go along, but I'll also intercut some gameplay of things I'm talking about, so if you do want to watch along, you've got that to look forward to, but I would mainly just minimize this, put it to the side, and maybe just listen to it as a podcast. It is going to be only on YouTube, but if people want it on other audio platforms, maybe I'll look into doing that at some point. We'll have to wait and see. We split the show into a few different sections, so this is currently inventory management. It's basically housekeeping, where I let you guys know anything that's happening with the channel or with the show, maybe like upcoming streams, or for the purpose of this episode, letting you guys know the new format of the show. We're then going to move into play of the week, where I'll be going over what I've been playing that week, and if it's a new game, for instance, next week, Dungeons and Dragons Dark Alliance comes out, which is a game that I'm kind of interested in, and the fact that it's coming to Game Pass means, well, I've got no reason not to play it. I'll give you my impressions and thoughts on that if it's a game that doesn't sort of warrant its own individual video. We then move into the Lowdown, and this is where we talk about the big story that's happened that week in the gaming industry, or just the topic of the show. And then we finally have Game Over, which, as it suggests, is the end of the show where we wrap everything up. Because I've got a load of screens and stuff, and we are now doing this visually, I'm not going to be speaking and directly talking to the camera all the time, but yeah, just to point that out so someone's like, hey, you don't speak to the camera. Well, there you go. Also, apologies for the sound of this episode. It might sound a little bit reverby, taking down all the audio foam that's usually around me, so hopefully I can paint. For me, it sounds a lot worse. I don't know if that's picking up in the actual mic. We'll have to wait and see, so apologies if there's a lot of reverb going on, but we'll get it fixed, and it'll be sounding just like my normal videos. With that being said, let's move on into Play of the Week. What have I been playing this week? Not really much. Haven't been playing much over the last couple of sort of months, really, because there hasn't really been much to play. But I found myself getting back into Call of Duty, more specifically Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War's multiplayer. This is a game that I've kind of had a love-hate relationship with when it first came out. Didn't really enjoy it. Played the zombies a ton. I love the zombies for Cold War, but I never found myself getting into the multiplayer like I have with previous Call of Duties until I found out the magic ingredients, and that is turning off crossplay. Everyone always wants crossplay in these games. Call of Duty is a game that I do not want crossplay because it means I'm playing against people on PC and I'm playing against people on PlayStation. People on PlayStation, they're not the problem. It's the people on PC, and it just gives you a much bigger skill gap. Turn off crossplay, and the games are so much easier, and I'm having a much more fun time, especially on some of these maps that they brought back from Black Ops 2. Like we had, I want to say it was called Terminal, the one with the train. We had Standoff, and they've just introduced Hijacked, and I believe they're introducing, I want to say it's called Rush from Black Ops 2, which is the paintball map, which was DLC. Don't really remember that map that much, but I think it was pretty good. But yeah, I've been playing Hijacked 24/7 and having a blast. It kind of just reminds me of all of the old Black Ops games, and yeah, been playing that a lot. Also, been playing the Tunic demo. We did a stream yesterday on the channel where we played the Tunic demo, because this is a game that I've been very excited for a very, very long time. It first got announced in 2018 at Xbox's E3 showcase, and we've kind of been waiting ever since. That being said, this game is being made by one person, so I get why it's taking a long time, but it was shown off during the Summer Game Fest Kickoff live event, and they were like, hey, there's a demo available next week. go play it. It's only available until Monday. So I played it. A ton of fun. It is a cute looking Zelda kind of game where you play as a fox, but it is far from that. It is Zelda meets Dark Souls. What game isn't something that meets Dark Souls nowadays? But it is super fun, super hard, and it's got me even more excited for the full release, whenever that might be. I don't know, we have no release date. Hopefully it's maybe this year, if not early next year. It's definitely a game I'm going to be playing through the whole way, and hopefully having a blast. But yeah, it's a very hard game. I highly recommend, if you haven't, go check out the demo before it goes on Monday, and you'll be shocked at kind of just how hard it is. It is set up like a Dark Souls game, where you have kind of your camps, your bonfires where you can save at, and then you progress through your section. If you die, you go back to your campfire and all the enemies respawn, and you've got to go back, find your little treasure chest that you dropped when you died, and that's basically your souls. Yeah, super cool, super cute style, but super hard. And I've been playing that. I played that once through on the stream, and then I went back to see if there's any other little hidden things, and there are a few chests tucked away under some waterfalls and things like that. But yeah, it's only a short demo, probably like 50 to an hour. Yeah, definitely go check that out. With that being said, though, that's all I've been playing this week. Again, Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance comes out next week, June 22nd. I'll be playing through that, and I'll give you my thoughts and opinions on it in next week's episode. From there, though, we can move into the topic of the show, and that is E3 2021's biggest announcements. Now, I think there was one game that was probably the biggest announcement for the majority of the people, but we'll save that to the last one that we talk about. Let's start off with Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. I think this was a big announcement. It came from the Summer Game Fest Kickoff live event. It had kind of been leaked and rumoured before the event, so we kind of knew it was coming, but it is a spin-off of the Borderlands series, based on the DLC from Borderlands 2, which is a Dungeons & Dragons DLC where Tiny Tina is your dungeon master, and she basically walks you through this story. Now, this is a spin-off, so it's not directly tied to the Borderlands series in terms of story, other than Tiny Tina. We got a completely new voice cast, so we have Will Arnett, we have Wanda Sykes, and we have Andy Samberg, as well as Ashley Birch, who is Tiny Tina. There are going to be melee weapons this time around, which makes sense, swords and things like that. Hopefully some axes, and we also are going to have magic spells, which I assume is probably going to be like your skill trees in this. I don't really know how that's going to work, but I'm very excited. All we got was a CGI trailer. We didn't get any gameplay, despite this originally being showed off during the Kickoff live event, and then Gearbox had their own showcase, and they literally just showed this CGI trailer like 3 more times, and we didn't get any more information, other than there's going to be dragons and things in this game, which we kind of already knew. Early 2022, so I'm assuming we're going to be seeing more of it fairly soon. I'd expect maybe Gamescom, or if not at Gamescom, then the Video Game Awards in December. I think we'll probably see it at either one of those two places, and hopefully get a good look at some gameplay, because Borderlands 3, we waited for it for a very long time, and it kind of didn't deliver based on a number of factors. It just wasn't as fun as Borderlands 2. The gameplay was solid. It had a lot of great additions. For instance, sliding, I think sprinting. I don't know if you could sprint in Borderlands 2. I can't really remember. It just felt a lot more fluid. But the gameplay, the story, the world, it just wasn't as good as Borderlands 2. So hopefully them spinning off into kind of a new direction will allow them to iterate and put a lot more fun and fresh things into this version, which I'm excited for. Moving on, though, we can talk a little bit about Ubisoft. They finally announced Rainbow Six Siege's zombie version, which was called Rainbow Six Quarantine. It's now called Rainbow Six Extraction. Coming out September 16th. Looks super cool. I'm unsure about the replayability of this game. There was a lot of games coming out this year, which is your 4-player co-op against hordes of enemies. We've got this game, we've got Back for Blood, which is from the Left 4 Dead people. We have Anacrusis, which is sort of a more smaller version. We've got Alien Fireteam. There's a lot of 4-player co-op games. One of them is probably going to do better than the rest of them. Which one that is, I don't know. Yeah, not much to talk about this one other than it looks cool. I like the feature of You have all your operators, obviously, from Rainbow Six Siege, and if you play a mission and that operator dies, they go MIA, and you lose access to that operator until you go back in and rescue them. I wonder if that means if you just to lose all your operators, what happens? Is that game over? I don't know, but that sounds like a pretty cool feature. I definitely want to see more from it, and I'm sure we will before it releases in September, probably at another Ubisoft Forward event or again Gamescom. We got the release date for Riders Republic, and we've kind of seen a lot of this already, but this game just looks like a ton of fun. 64-player mayhem on mountain bikes, snowboards, hang gliders and wingsuits, all that kind of stuff. It's the next evolution of Steep, and I'm very excited for it. I think this game is going to do very well in the sort of streaming space. I think this is going to be a game that Twitch streamers and YouTube streamers play, kind of like what we saw with Fall Guys. I think this could be a fun party game, especially just playing with a bunch of mates. You're going to have a blast. September 9th, super excited for that. We also got some more Far Cry 6, not really a big announcement at E3. We'd kind of already seen a lot of stuff. I think they'd already announced the release date, but it's October 7th. We got the reveal of Mario plus Rabbids Spark of Hope. Not really a game for me, but I think a lot of people are excited for this. The first one did really well. A lot of people enjoyed it. Unfortunately, this again leaked out before the event, so we kind of knew it was coming before going into it. But I'm glad the people who enjoyed the first one are getting a second one. And then they ended the show, obviously, with the confirmation that, yes, the Avatar game is still in the works. Does anyone want this game? Is Avatar a franchise that people want more of? Because I certainly don't. The movie came out more than 10 years ago at this point. People are going to be playing this game when it comes out next year. Or if it comes out next year, I don't know if they put a release date. I think they said 2022. People are going to be playing this game not realizing it's based on a movie. They're going to be like, oh, this Avatar, new IP. Oh, they're making a movie based on this game? I reckon people are going to be like that. I don't really care about Avatar. I will check this game out. I'm more excited for Ubisoft Massive's Star Wars game, which maybe we get a reveal of next year. That was kind of it for Ubisoft in terms of big announcements. Overall, I will give their show a 7 out of 10. I think they did pretty good. There were a few like down moments with Just Dance and Rocksmith, but overall, fairly decent. We're going to brush over the Koch Media Prime Gaming event as well as the Gearbox event, because both of those completely sucked. They had no new announcements. They were like just there for the sake of being there. We can move into what was next, actually. We have the Xbox Showcase. Xbox, the big one. Xbox brought it. They really did. Every single game there was a game that piqued my interest. There was not a dull moment during that showcase, and they had a ton of great reveals. I will name some of them off, and then we'll talk about the sort of big announcements. Flight Simulator, July 27th for console. Hades, is finally coming to consoles August 13th. 12 Minutes finally has a release date coming August 19th. Diablo 2 Remaster finally getting its release date of September 23rd. Back 4 Blood coming October 12th, coming day 1 to Xbox Game Pass. We got a little bit more of Battlefield 2042, which we'll take a look at, or we'll talk about in a minute. Forza Horizon 5 got its official announcement, set in Mexico, and it's coming November 9th. Halo Infinite got its multiplayer reveal, which we'll talk about in just a second. Stalker 2 got its gameplay reveal, and that is coming April 28th. And then, of course, we got some announcements for Redfall, Starfield, Contraband, and Outer Worlds 2. So the first big announcement there is Battlefield 2042's multiplayer. We got the reveal trailer the day before the Kickoff Live event, and a lot of people were like, this looks super cool, this looks interesting. They're adding the element of like weather and giant sandstorms and massive things destroying the level. Let's see some gameplay. And they showed us some gameplay, and it looks like classic Battlefield. Battlefield Bad Company 2 / Battlefield 3-4 kind of era, which is the best kind of Battlefield in my opinion. I never really played Battlefield 1 or 5 or even Hardline. They just kind of didn't grab me. But this looks like it's going back to what people liked about Battlefield. However, there is a however. This game doesn't have a campaign, which is completely fine, because Battlefield's never used to have a campaign. They only introduced, I believe, Battlefield Bad Company so they could have some sort of campaign story with the multiplayer. So this is a multiplayer only game, and it is 60 to 70 quid, which is a steep asking price for a multiplayer only game, especially when the competition, Halo, Call of Duty, Apex, Fortnite, all have free-to-play offerings. And there are rumours that Call of Duty Vanguard, which is this year's Call of Duty, set in World War II, is going to bring with it a World War II map. If not at launch, but very closely after. So people who are maybe all in on Warzone and are like, hey, new Battlefield coming out, that looks kind of cool, maybe we'll hop onto that, might be swayed, oh wait, actually, let's not spend 70 quid on the new Battlefield, let's just play this brand new map that's coming to Warzone that's going to completely change it up. Or they might be like, hey, we're looking for a new game that's coming out that's not Call of Duty, or that new Halo game's coming out and it's free to play. Battlefield has got an uphill battle, and I'm going to be very curious to see what happens with this game, because looking at it, October 22nd is when it comes out. There's not really much around it in terms of first-person shooters other than Back 4 Blood, but I think Back 4 Blood's kind of going for a different audience. So it might have a good opportunity to kind of get a player base within the first 2 weeks of it coming out before we see Call of Duty probably end of October, early November. Maybe Call of Duty is like trying to push their release date up to around the same time because they know they can absolutely swamp Battlefield's player base. Who knows? And then we don't have a release date for Halo Infinite, so that's probably looking like December. So maybe it works out well for Battlefield that it's coming out before everything. But yeah, I'm very curious to see how that does. It looks cool. Is it worth the amount that they're asking for? We don't know, but we do know we're going to be getting more from it at EA Play in July. Let's speak about Halo Infinite. I think the big shocker, multiplayer is classic. It looks like classic multiplayer. From Halo 3, Halo Reach, which is what everyone wanted. Halo 4 and Halo 5, something about those games, while they were good, they just weren't really like Halo games. And I think a lot of people were going off of last year's campaign reveal. This doesn't look that great. You know, they delayed it. Let's see a little bit more of it. They showed a little bit of campaign, but they really focused in on multiplayer. Some of the additions, there's too much to go over in this, but some of the additions they have look great. It really looks like they've listened to player feedback from the last two games, and some of the armor customization, some of the levels, some of the weapons, the abilities, grapple hooking. You've got your own personal AI now. Big team battle, 12v12, but you've got your smaller arena, 4v4, and they're adding vehicles back into some of those smaller arena maps. Halo Infinite is lining itself up to be like a smash hit. And again, it's free to play. Hopefully they have some good anti-cheat that Warzone has been suffering from over the last couple of months. And they also seem to be doing everything right in terms of how they're monetizing this game beyond it just being free to play. The Battle Pass they've announced will never expire. You can buy the Battle Pass, play however much you want, and then a new season comes out. Don't worry, your old Battle Pass hasn't expired. You can still level that up, or if you've missed a season, you can go back and buy that old Battle Pass and then choose which Battle Pass you actually want to progress forward with as you're playing. So that's super cool. I think Halo Infinite is my biggest sort of thing coming from E3. Just seeing the multiplayer gets me super excited, and it is still my most hyped game for this year. That being said, they did not put a release date on it. Holiday 2021. I'm assuming that is mainly because they aren't afraid to push this back again. They need this to be right, and if it means pushing it back to early 2022, I think they can do that. Holiday 2020 makes me think that this is December. Early December, because as I heard someone say, and I can't remember where this was from, they don't need to sort of get ahead of Christmas sales and Black Friday and stuff like that, because you can just go ahead and buy Xbox Game Pass and get the campaign if you'd like through Game Pass, or you can just get someone an Xbox for Christmas. They can open it up on Christmas Day with Halo there, and you don't need to pay anything for Halo because it's free to play and you don't need Xbox Live Gold. I think this could be the return of Halo for a lot of people, and I'm excited to see where they go forwards with Halo, because they have said this is a 10-year plan. We're going to be keeping on building upon this. Wonder if we'll get a BR. That is what I'm curious about. Of course, we got the announcement of Redfall, which is the new game from Arcane Studios. This is another 4-player co-op game, open world, fighting against vampires this time. We don't really know much about it, but it's coming out summer 2022. It's got a lot of people excited because of Arcane. They worked on the Prey game, and they've got Deathloop coming up, which is a PlayStation exclusive. So I think based on the reception of Deathloop, I think that'll get a lot more people excited for Redfall. Another brand new IP coming to Xbox is Contraband. This is from Avalanche, the people who made Just Cause, Mad Max, and Rage 2. Another open world game, another co-op game. This time, it seems like it's going to be sort of a Payday kind of game where you're going in and doing heists. Maybe Payday meets Ghost Recon in the fact that you've got a massive open world. You can kind of take on these heists in any order. Who knows? 2022 is the scheduled release date. Maybe we'll learn more about it this year, but I'm assuming they're probably going to be saving that for a big reveal at E3 next year. We got the announcement that The Outer Worlds 2 is in production, or is about to be in production. Obviously, The Outer Worlds 1 was a very loved game by the fans. A game that I didn't really get into, but I'm excited to see that there's another one in the works. I'm more excited for Obsidian's Avowed game, which they showed off last year. Obviously, a lot of people were going into this wanting to see more from Starfield, and we certainly got that. It has its official release date of November 11th, 2022. No gameplay, just an in-engine trailer. I am super excited for this game. I'm not a fan of Skyrim, or the Elder Scrolls games, sorry. I'm not a fan of Fallout normal games. I actually really liked Fallout 76. Starfield looks like it's the direction that I want it to go. They've described it as a Han Solo simulator. Go out and explore the vast universe. So I'm going to keep my eye on Starfield. We're going to be learning a lot more about that game next year, that's for sure. Whether it hits that November 11th date, who knows, but I'm excited for that one for sure. And yeah, that was kind of all the big announcements. Actually, I forgot one, I think, and that is Forza Horizon 5. We kind of knew about this going into it. It had been rumored. It is set in Mexico. Damn, this game looks good. If you haven't already, go to their YouTube page, click on the Forza Horizon gameplay demo, flick that thing up to 4K, and be stunned. This game looks amazing. I believe it won E3's most anticipated game announced at E3, so there's definitely hype and excitement for this game. The previous Forza Horizon games have been absolutely stellar. They've kind of taken over the motorsport games as being sort of the more popular side of the franchise. Mexico looks like a super fun place to drive around and explore. I'm excited for it. Of course, coming to Game Pass, so if you have Game Pass, you can just hop in and drive around. I think they've said there's over like 500 cars. I'm very excited. And they announced, I'm forgetting the name of it now, but a creative mode. Basically, Forge meets the crazy tracks that you would see in GTA Online, but in Forza. I think it's going to be a ton of fun, that game mode. And yeah, I'm super excited for that. It's kind of one that I think Forza Horizon 5 is going to be an underdog, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of Forza Horizon 5 at the Video Game Awards later this year. I think it could actually win quite a few awards. And obviously, this team, Playground Games, they're working on the Fabled game. So you can see the quality they put into Forza Horizon games. Imagine that in a new Fable game. That is going to be on another level. From there, we can move over to Square Enix. Square Enix had a pretty decent show. Obviously, Xbox, I will give them a 10 out of 10 because they just hit after hit after hit. That was their best press conference they've had in forever, and I think it's only going to get better. So I'll give them a 9.5, 10. I think they did solid. Square Enix, on the other hand, they didn't do that hot. They opened it with the Guardians of the Galaxy game, which I think is their biggest announcement from this showcase. It is coming out October 26th, which is very soon, though it has the same visual style as the Marvel's Avengers game, which basically just looks like it's knockoff MCU. I wish they would take these games and give them their own like stylized look, like we saw with Insomniac and Spider-Man. It's not trying to be the MCU. It's not trying to be the Spider-Man films. It's trying to be its own thing, and it's got its own look. And something about the Square Enix games, they just feel like they're trying to be the MCU, and they're not quite hitting that. This looks super cool. You only play as Star-Lord. It is a single-player game, though through the combat you can bring in the other Guardians of the Galaxies. I'm very curious to see more about this. We did get quite a lot. I definitely am going to be playing it, but I'm not really that hyped for it. I'm not excited for it. It is coming pretty much to everything. However, on the Nintendo Switch, it is a cloud version, so you're going to be streaming that in. I'm curious to see how that works. But yeah, October 26th, that was their biggest announcement. They also showed off Babylon's Fall, which is a game a lot of people were excited about. Not so much anymore, realizing that it is a live service game, and the art style just makes this game look like a blurry mess. And we also got the reveal of Final Fantasy Origin, which is the Souls-like Final Fantasy game where they need to kill chaos. Apparently, not something for me. A lot of people, I think, were kind of let down by this. I know the demo didn't work, but I think now that people have started to play the demo, people are a little bit more optimistic about this game, I think. So we'll have to wait and see on that. We then move over to Capcom. They didn't really do much. I will give Square Enix, I'm going to give them a 6 out of 10 just for Guardians. They also announced the Wakanda DLC for Marvel's Avengers is coming in August, though they didn't actually announce that during their showcase. They showed off a trailer for this expansion with no release date, and then they announced that after the fact. A bit weird. Capcom didn't announce anything. They just said, hey, we are working on Resident Evil Village DLC because you guys asked for it. So that was cool. Nintendo. I'm not a Nintendo fan. I don't have a Switch. I will get a Switch if a Pro comes out. We got a Tekken character in Smash Bros. We got a new trailer for Breath of the Wild 2, which was the biggest thing there. It is coming out 2022, apparently. I think a lot of people maybe aren't expecting 2022, maybe 2023. Again, most of the games there weren't for me, but from what I've heard from people who like Nintendo, it was a solid showcase and probably is in the range of an 8 to 9, so that's super cool. Again, I'm not into Nintendo games, so I can't really give my opinion on these. Obviously, PlayStation was a no-show here. They didn't have a press conference or showcase. They're going to be doing something later on this year, most likely, and I'm sure we'll get some reveals for, more Horizon before it comes out, or an official release date. Some God of War news, probably, and maybe some teasers about other things they're working on. Maybe we get a new tease for the next Ghost of Tsushima game, which hopefully they're working on. I really want a Ghost of Tsushima 2. But yeah, that was kind of E3. Overall, this year's E3 was a bit of a miss. I think a lot of people who had showcases didn't need to have showcases. Mainly Gearbox, mainly Koch Media, Capcom. They didn't need to be here. Ubisoft Forward, they do these multiple times throughout the year. We'll probably get another one with Division news, Skull and Bones news, Beyond Good and Evil 2 news, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm curious to see how it plays out next year, because I think they'll do, depending on the state of the world, they might try to do an in-person event. I think they're going to be doing a mixture. I think it'll be digital, in-person event. Maybe the in-person event is only media like it used to be, because I don't think they'll probably want the amount of people who will probably turn up in terms of public. And for the average goer like you or me, it is a digital event anyway. We don't go to E3. We watch it through these showcases. But it was just kind of missing something, the atmosphere. I didn't really watch much of the E3 actual show, but I think it was pretty decent from what I saw. Yeah, I'm curious to see where they go with E3 next year. I definitely think E3 will be a thing next year. I know people were like, oh, is E3 ever going to come back? And then, yeah, it came back this year. I think a lot of people are like, well, is E3 going to come back next year? I think, yes, it will, unless they've already announced it. I might have missed that. But yeah, I think it's going to come back next year, and I think it's going to probably be a digital event again, maybe with some in-person things being media only. And moving on to the biggest announcement, you're like, where's this game? You've forgotten about this game, Elden Ring. I think this was the game that a lot of people were going into, like, are we going to be getting Elden Ring? Are we not going to be getting Elden Ring? And then at the Summer Live kickoff event, Jeff Keighley freed himself from the prison and showed us the gameplay reveal of Elden Ring. Now, this is a game, going into it, my hype level was about 5. I've played Dark Souls 1, didn't beat it, got stuck on the 2 bosses that you fight at the same time, but I super enjoyed Dark Souls 1, and then it was like, well, I enjoyed Dark Souls 1, let me get Sekiro, and absolutely love Sekiro. Again, I didn't beat Sekiro, I got stuck on the Owl boss, and I tried a few different times, and then I think another game came out, and I played that instead, and went back to Sekiro, and by that time I'd kind of just lost the hang of it, and I couldn't really remember the patterns for this boss, so I just kind of gave up. Tried Dark Souls 3, didn't really speak to me. I also did try a little bit of Bloodborne, but because I'm an Xbox person, I didn't really stick with Bloodborne. I was like, I don't really want to be playing on PlayStation, let me move back to Xbox. But I am actually now super excited for Elden Ring. Hearing some of the information we've heard about this game since that gameplay reveal went up, it's fully open world, or it's open world more than a normal From Software game. They're basically making co-op a lot easier to achieve this time. You can go and explore the open world with a friend, that you can't ride horses, but they're doing the same thing where once you've beaten a boss, you both get separated. There looks to be some crazy character design. Yeah, overall, my hype level went from like a 5 out of 10, because we didn't really know much about this, to a 9 out of 10, and it's coming out so soon, January 21st, 2022. From the looks of it, there's nothing else coming out around that same kind of time, so this game could hit really big, and hey, I think this could be a runner for Game of the Year next year. I really do. Next year's looking stacked with Elden Ring, with Starfield, with God of War, with Redfall, with things we don't even know about yet. 2022 is going to be crazy for games. But yeah, Elden Ring, I think, surprised a lot of people, made a lot of people happy, and I cannot wait to play this game. I'm definitely going to be hopping on and giving it a go. I'm sure I will get through it, and then there'll be a boss near the end that I just can't do, and I give up. As that seems to be the thing that happens with From Software games with me. But yeah, that kind of wraps it up in terms of all the big announcements from E3 this year. My list of upcoming games that I want to play coming out this year is completely stacked. Again, we've got D&D Dark Alliance, Flight Simulator, The Ascent, Hades, 12 Minutes, Riders Republic, Life is Strange True Colors, Rainbow Six Extraction, Diablo 2 Remastered, Hot Wheels Unleashed, which I'm very much looking forward to, Far Cry 6, Back 4 Blood, House of Ashes, which I super enjoyed the previous ones of the Dark Anthology pictures, Battlefield 2042, Guardians of the Galaxy, Forza Horizon 5, Dying Light 2, Halo Infinite, and at some point, Call of Duty Vanguard. That is just this year, and then again next year we've got Stalker 2, Wonderlands, Redfall, Starfield, Contraband, Outer Worlds 2, God of War, and much more. There are too many games, but I'd rather have too many games than no games like we kind of had for the past couple of months. So yeah, starting next week is kind of when it all begins. But there you have it. That will wrap it up for this episode of The Lowdown, episode 6. We are back. Next week, we'll be back with episode 7, talking about whatever is happening in the gaming industry. I'm sure there's going to be some sort of big news. I know there's this whole blue box conspiracy, which maybe we get some answers to, and I'll cover it in next week's episode. If you're not entirely sure what I'm on about, just Google the blue box conspiracy. It's to do with Kojima and Silent Hill, and it's crazy. It goes down a rabbit hole that you probably will never come back from. But yeah, that'll wrap it up for this week's episode. I'm excited to bring this back. As we continue, I'm sure I'll get better at this, getting back into the groove of things. If you have any feedback, then let me know. If you've made it this far, then thank you for making it this far. If you're not already, then subscribe. Make sure you click that like button, leave a comment below. Let me know which game you are most excited about coming out from this year's E3, or just in general that's coming out this year or next year. What is that game that gets you most hyped? And what do you think is going to happen with E3 next year? Do you think they're going to do E3 next year? Do you think the Summer Game Fest Kickoff live event is going to be even bigger and better, and a lot of people are maybe going to gravitate towards Jeff Keighley doing something with him than the ESA? I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions below. But yeah, that will wrap it up for this week's episode of The Lowdown. It's good to be back, and hopefully I will catch you next week. Until then, bye-bye.